What's up, and welcome back to Interpreting the Stars, where today we're starting a brand new preparation marathon going over all the Christopher Nolan films, starting with the only film on his roster that I've never actually seen. It's Following. Why though? Well, because Tenet has yet to delay their premiere. They probably will, and this preparation marathon will all be a moot point, but as it is now, I'm beginning the preparation marathon with the intent on finishing all these films before Tenet is released. So whether it's released in July or sometimes next year, I should be covered. So here's the real question. Does Following receive the same kind of approbation as the rest of Nolan's work? Let's get cracking. This review is brought to you by the word of the day, approbation, a formal word for approval or praise. Following focuses on a young man who calls himself Bill and his mentor of sorts, Cobb, on a number of criminal activities. You see, Bill claims to be a writer very interested in people, so much so that he follows them around, sees where they live, where they walk, where they go. He soon ups the ante when he begins to burgle their homes with Cobb, but the more you learn, the more sinister it may become. Alright, so first of all, this movie's short. It's a little bit over an hour long. That's it. I don't think you can call it a short film, though. Funny thing is, I've reviewed shorter on this channel before with Dr. Horrible's Sing-Along blog, which was only 45 minutes or so I'm not against short movies, as long as they have a story that I can appreciate, and for the most part, Following has a story that I liked. But even though the film is short, it took a while to get there. A majority of the time, it seemed to be mostly aimless and more of a social commentary about being careful not to overstep your curiosities, because once you do, you'll find yourself on a rabbit hole getting worse and worse. You know, curiosity killed the cat. And honestly, I kind of hate those types of movies because, yeah, it's a fine message, but as I always say, I want to see a story goal. I want to see a reason for these characters to exist, to do what they're doing. I want all of that. And thankfully, by the end of the movie, that is what you get. Now, unfortunately, I can't tell you what happens at the end because that'll just spoil the whole thing. Instead, let me just say that there is a story goal. There's kind of a design that is happening in the film from beginning to end that you may not be aware of until then. And once you are, suddenly it all makes sense. I wish I could go deeper and talk about protagonists and antagonists and what those functions mean in this film specifically, because I guarantee y'all got it wrong, but I can't. There, now I've said too much. For what it is, it's pretty good. It is, and I can certainly tell the early spirit of Christopher Nolan in this thing, but here's where things begin to dither for me. I thought it dragged on for too long, even with it being so short. It felt too much like an art house student film that wanted to look fancy by being black and white and full screen, but I never really thought it needed that style. It was going for the noir thing, which I guess is fine, but I don't particularly like noirs. And like I said, I don't think it necessarily needed the style. It probably would have worked out fine if they just stuck to a standard 16:9 format, even color. Sometimes I feel like grayscale picture works and is needed to be the only way to represent a story. Other times I don't. This is one of the times that I didn't. And that probably had to do with the fact as a whole, the thing feels amateur. It feels amateurish and cheap. The actors are mostly fine in their roles, but I think the problem with the production feeling amateur made the actors seem amateur. I think in general, the film probably wasn't ready to be made. Either that or Nolan should have just made it a true short film and kept it around a half hour to make the whole thing that much more impactful, because there's a lot of repetition going on in this film. They do something and then they do the same type of thing again and again and again and again throughout the runtime of the film, and a short film wouldn't need that much repetition. They can get the same idea from a quick montage. Let's put it this way, I'm glad that I saw it. It's been nagging on me for a long time that I've seen all of Christopher Nolan's stuff other than this. But now that I've checked it off of my to-do, I feel like I probably would have been fine without it too. I don't know. Let's take a look at my final score for a second. I think a lot of what this movie does from a technical level is fine. It's nothing that blows my mind or anything, but I think if we're being fair, they often did what they had to do to tell the story that they wanted to tell, and that's why my unbiased score is 70%. But because it was a bit of a letdown for me, my bias score is 60%, averaging everything out to a final score of 65%, 65 out of 100 possible stars, granting the Following with a letter grade of D. My guess is at this point, this will probably be considered the lowest graded Christopher Nolan film out of the bunch. Now that's just based off of my experience as a whole with the rest of them. But who knows? Maybe there's one in there that I remembered as being great, but is actually a stinker now. Only time will tell. Guys, let me know your thoughts on Following in the comments down below if you've seen it. What do you think about it? Can you tell Christopher Nolan's spirit while watching? Is it exciting? Is it boring? Weird? How would you put it? Let me know. As for YouTube, you know what to do. Hit the subscribe button if you like this review, because there's more like it coming out. Hit the thumbs up button, because that always helps out my channel. And don't forget about the little bell icon, because that'll help notify you when I come out with my next review. And until then, peace out!